All right, we're back with Learn Football from a College Coach. I was pumped to see there were some other motherfuckers out there that like ball. The first one got a pretty good response. The video on Inside Zone, if you haven't seen it, there's some base knowledge in there that we use in this video too. So just understand that and know that some of the stuff that we'll be talking about today, you may not understand if you don't see that. You can check that out. It was posted in here as well. But I was pumped to see there were a lot of people that seemed to like it. I would have been pumped if there was one, but it's awesome that other people out there seem to like it. So all we're going to do today is talk about mid zone and outside zone. All right, and the difference between the two. There's a very important difference between the two, and I think a lot of people just form them into one. But again, when we talk about mid zone, outside zone, and inside zone, we're talking about categories of run plays, right? We're talking about whether or not, the aiming spot for the running back is in a certain place or not, right? Those are the differences with the run plays. And then that aiming spot changes the leverage of blocks in relation to that aiming point, like we talked about last time for each of the offensive linemen. Confession, this is not mid zone or outside zone play. I was just watching tape and I couldn't help but put this on. I fucking love this. But I threw this on here. Just this isn't what we're going to talk about, but I just like this a lot. I think I had the wrong play thrown up here. Sorry, losing control because I had a slide for you. This might be it. Did I lose it? Hang on now. Hang on just a sec. There it is. All right. So, yeah, this is not mid zone or outside zone, but I love this. All right. So we talked about this last time. This is inside zone, right? So you got two running backs now. We talked about speed option. We also talked about, if you remember, we have the tight end, right? In the last one, we had a tight end, and we said, instead of just reading this guy, right, and accounting for these five with offensive line, instead of just reading this guy, you can also have a tight end come, bluff him, and then come around the edge as a lead blocker for the alley or to seal the box or to get up to the safety, whichever one comes first, right? So what this is the exact same thing, right? They're just doing it with a running back. So we watched a bunch of cut blocks. We watched it, called it split zone on the last one, right? It's the exact same thing, right? This guy's coming, showing that he's about to cut block this defensive end. So you can watch kind of as this plays out. And I think you'll see, right? Number 50 is in a terrible spot right now, right? So is the safety, number 9, the free safety, right? You watch this, right? 50 is thinking, I'm about to get cut, right? All of a sudden, he kind of realizes what's going on. You could probably hand this ball off into even numbers, but I can't be mad about this. It's so fucking cool. But and then, you bluff him, but instead of then having him as a lead blocker, he's really an RPO option for you to throw to right on the side there. And you can see as the safety, right, you had no idea, right? He has no idea. That's a terrible spot to be in, right? If this guy bluffs the defensive end, the first reaction I would have as a safety is, all right, they're running a force play. He's going to become a force alley player blocker, right? And all of a sudden, what happens, right? Now he goes out for a little slip screen, and what do you get? You get a freaking explosive play that gets derailed by a receiver holding, obviously, which is a really fun thing as a coach to have happen when you call a play like that and it gets derailed because of a receiver hold. Here's what I will say is I'm going to throw stuff like that in these things because I really can't help myself. But so we'll start off here just with the intro of the differences schematically between mid and outside zone and what those two differences are, or the differences are rather. So mid zone, right? Mid zone is, we said it last week at the end of the video or at the end of the last video. It's the aiming point is what's changing. All right. But the ID or the point is the exact same as what we talked about last time, right? So the aiming point for the running back is now the butt of the ghost tight end if you don't have a tight end on the strong side or the play side. All right, so you imagine a ghost tight end. We say the butt of the ghost tight end. All right, so that's where the running back's aiming, and we talked about how important it is to press the point, right? That's where the running back's aiming, and that's on the quarterback to get him there, right? So that's going to be the aiming point. If there is a tight end and you're running strong zone, or he's going to cut back across, whatever, you can aim at that, right? But what does that mean, right? That means the leverage of all those blocks change in correspondence to protecting that aiming spot, right? So now everything has to happen a little bit differently. All right, so O-line typically never responsible for the plus. All right, the plus being, we talked about the point, the plus and the minus a lot last week. We even had some double minuses, some double pluses, or last video rather. Again, I keep saying that. But the double pluses and the double minuses, we had those, right? So the O-line's typically never responsible for the plus, right? So what we're saying there is we're going to ID it the exact same as inside zone. So the first thing, head up to play side. The next guy outside of him, the O-line is typically never going to be responsible for. When that will happen will be when the play side tackle and a tight end on the strong side are comboing in strong zone, strong outside or mid zone, all right, to the plus. That's the only way that a offensive lineman would ever get to the plus. Otherwise, and we'll get to how this all plays out. I won't spend too much time talking about it here, but we'll talk about running back alignment and how that changes things. You can run it either way, anyway, rather. But the point of that too is that can be for outside zone as well. It's really for pretty much every play, and just how that changes philosophically, whether he's in the pistol, whether he's on the strong side or the weak side. But the biggest part of this, and I can't stress this enough, the biggest part of this play, if you were going to be successful with mid zone and or outside zone, is the verticality of your offensive lineman. We're going to see why here in a second. Doubles can't take a long time. You can't just have that old school mentality of, all right, we're going to try and reach this guy all the way to the sideline. Do everything you can to get the guy reached, right? You have to get vertical now. Otherwise, well, we're going to see what plays out here. All right, the difference between mid zone and outside zone is really the point system and the objective of the play. Mid zone, it's really, we even think of it as kind of just inside zone, just with a wider aiming point. And it plays out like that with the verticality of our blocks as well. You'll see what that means in a second. But outside zone is a minus point play, which means we're no longer IDing the point as the first thing head up to play side of the center. We're now going to ID the point as the first thing behind that guy. So whoever that guy is, the first thing behind him. Away from the play, rather. So you'll see what that means here in a second. But the reason for that is because we're trying to encapsulate the defense or seal the box. Usually you have to run this with a strong side tight end. All right. But the aiming point's going to be the same for the most part. And, you know, it's look specific. You want to have the tight end front side, him and the tackle have the first backer in the box. You'll see what that means. And then front side pressure. The tight end has to take front side pressure. If you have a strong side tight end and you're running outside zone to the field, true outside zone, and you're saying we're going to encapsulate the box with a Mike backer, right? We're going to encapsulate the box and try and seal everything inside and get the edge. And then you get a Sam blitz off the edge. That's going to derail the whole play. So you have to understand, if you're going to do this, you have to build in the fail safe for play side pressure. The tight end has to be really smart with that. And then this is less important, but the backside in that case would then change from M mentality, I should say, not to M mentality. And we'll get to what that is in a sec. But your play side tackle has to be a dude. That'll become clear here too. So let's jump in. I think mostly Colorado State, and then I went with some Pitt defense versus Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech seems to run it pretty well. All right, so Trey McBride, a really great tight end here. All right, I believe he led the FBS in receptions this year. All right, but so what do we say? If we're running mid zone right here, right? If we're running mid zone, we've got our point, first thing, head up the play side. We've got our minus. We have a strong side tight end for the plus. All right, so we've got a combo. If we're running strong zone here, strong mid zone or outside zone, we've got a combo to the plus. This would be strong mid zone. All right. Combo to the plus, your center and your play side guard working to the point. All right. And these two guys are 2-4-2 backside, depending on how these three shake out. You want to get the two most dangerous to the play as possible. So There's different ways to teach that, but you get a shift to a stack. All right. I believe what they check to here, you watch the quarterback turn around, right? I believe he gets this stack look and he realizes, hey, the field alley is wide open. So he checks to more of kind of and this could still be considered mid zone, but he wants to, whatever the play call was, he wants to now instead encapsulate the defense like you would on outside zone. So what does the defense do? They check back. All right. So now the defense checks back. They are blocking it just like we just said, right? But now there's a little bit of an issue, right? So they went with the outside zone look. Now the difference here, right, is they have a fullback in the game. So the fullback is going to exchange responsibilities with the center. That's very much game plan specific and program specific. That's not a set in stone rule. All right. But he's going to end up taking that plus or point there, whichever one you want to call it, depending on if you're thinking mid zone or outside zone. But again, this is kind of the cat and mouse game of like, hey, if you do have this field open alley, right, then hell yeah, you want to encapsulate the defense, run the outside zone look, right? They're going to say, first thing, head up to play side. There's our point, right? Because the first thing, head up to play side, is usually the point. If we're going to run outside zone, he now becomes the plus. What they said is they're going to do this. They're going to run outside zone, encapsulate the defense. They're going to have these two guys seal this kid in all the way for 53. All right. And these two guys are going to do everything they can to just keep these guys out of the play, keep the fullback for number 17 as he comes around here. All right. So that's what they check to. Now the defense checks out of it. And now you can see the leverage becomes a little bit more difficult, right? How do we know that's the case? Because we can see exactly how it's playing out right here. We can see the center is working with this guard to get to him, which means that he is the point, which means that he is the plus. So they went to a minus point play because they wanted to encapsulate the defense, but the defense gets a check off, and now all of a sudden, right, you got a tackle for loss. All right, so that's kind of the intro of it. Again, we'll get to the nitty gritty here in a second. All right. All right, we've got zone read here. All right, so they're running mid zone read. So again, right, just to reiterate this, right, first thing, head up to play side. We're talking about mid zone. There's your point. There's your minus, right? Same exact thing as we said with outside inside zone. All right, so you've got one here. All right, you've got these two guys really for these two guys. Now, you'd probably tell him to just get on his horse vertically, go for the point now. All right, he's going to have a little bit of a combo mentality with this backside tackle. All right, try and get this guy. You want to aim for his play side number, so that's 6 there. You want to get your head across as much as you can. If not, you got to wash. And these two guys are working to the minus. All right, however that shakes out, and we are reading him. Watch it. Right, we're reading him, and now what do? Right, if he plays outside, you hand the ball off. If he plays inside, right, or causes friction with the tackle, then you pull it and you have a lead blocker with the tight end. Same thing we watched the other week, right, or the other video where he comes, bluffs this guy, and then lead blocks. Now he's just doing it from the same side. All right, so you can see, right, you're running the ball into even numbers. We're running the ball into 5-on-5 because of the fact that we successfully read this guy, right? So you can watch it all play out. All right, now the big thing here, right, and a lot of people, and we'll talk about the verticality of things. A lot of people teach it, especially at the younger levels. I was taught it this way, that you want to get this guy reach. So you want to take a step to reach this guy. We don't even teach that. We teach this guy, if you're going to be man on one-on-one and you're facing a wicked outside shade, whether it's 7 or excuse me, a wide 5, whatever you want to call it, this guy is out leveraging you by 100%. Here's the read spot. He's already outside of it and you're inside of it. So what we say instead is to pick a spot right past his midline, drive his ass to the sideline, create as much horizontal space as you possibly can. If you can drive him on a 45-degree angle to the sideline, that's great. But we're not going to waste our time trying to reach this guy, get the thing stretched all the way to the sideline with no movement, right? We're not getting any movement. All right, so you can see now number 92, right? He does a good job of getting his helmet right under the left guard here. All right, he blows it up. So now there's no movement, right? And the center, right? Him and the center really have to focus on this concept of getting out of double teams as early as you possibly can. So if you're the center right now, and this is not a knock on Colorado State, I don't know what they teach, but I'm saying if you're the center right now, right? If this were me, I would want my center to almost be just chipping 92, give him a little bit of a shoulder, right, on your way up to 39, way less horizontal than he is, because of the fact that if you're going to chip his shoulder and knock him to the outside half of your left guard can then throw his inside arm at him, right, keep him to the sideline and start driving, creating more horizontal space, right? And then you're on your way to 30, right? Hopefully you can get him 2 yards upfield, right? And now you just got to win across this face or again, right? We talk about setting up these wind backs, right? If you can't win across his face, you have to wash the shit out of him so that when this thing does wind back, right, there's a bunch of horizontal space between you and the read key here, right? And this guy should really be, in my opinion, this guy should not be concerned with 96 here. He should be getting vertical now to 42. I think that's the mentality. If it were me coaching it, that would be my mentality. I want vertical movement. The more it gets stretched out, the more likely it is that the running back's just going to keep pressing, and never really get to pierce it. This kid makes an unbelievable play, breaking tackles and things like that. But you can see, right, how hard it is to overtake this block for this center, right? You're not going to be able to overtake this block. He feels you trying to reach him. He's going to do everything he can to fight outside. You're really just trying to, in my opinion, I think you really just try to get off the doubles as fast as possible, get the guys to declare, and the running back has to do a good job pressing the point. He does a great job pressing the point here, right? Thankfully, he squeaks it out the front side, right? But he has to do a good job pressing the point. That'll become evident here again in a second. All right, Pitt, Georgia Tech. All right, so they're in 10 personnel here, unless that's a tight end. It's too strong. It is. All right, but they're in a completely removed set. So you've got 5 offensive, excuse me, 5 offensive linemen, right? So you can account for 5 guys. So you're going to account for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Here's your head up to play side. There's your point. All right, your minus is unaccounted for if he's outside of the defensive end, right? We're not going to, in the past, we've read this guy. What we want to do is read the C-gap player, right? So if this guy is going to jut inside and become the B-gap player, you're going to block him, right? That's pretty self-explanatory. That means he's the C-gap player. Now watch what happens. All right, so we're running mid-zone to this way. Here's our aiming point. Here's our point. Here's our minus. What we're saying is, and if you have an RPO tag on the backside to take advantage of, I guess it would really be the next linebacker over. But if you have an RPO tagged outside, a lot of the time that gets communicated to the offensive line so that number 77 here blocks out man on this guy no matter what. The reason you do that is so that this quarterback doesn't go through the mesh and all of a sudden he's got a defensive lineman in his face as he pulls it to try and throw the RPO. But all right, so let's see how this one plays out. So we've got our point here, our aiming spot for the running back. We'll see how much he presses it. All right, now watch number 20 there, the minus, right? So this is going to become huge in this video. I just happened to be the tape that I pulled together with this Georgia Tech film and Pitt. Pitt's a pretty aggressive defense. What they do is, obviously they're blitzing a lot. So what happens when you blitz? All right, what happens when you blitz? Well, most defenses, when you blitz, let's say, all right, you're running, this would be Mike go, right? So the Mike is blitzing off the edge, off the C gap. All right, let's say you're running that. Well, right now, to be gap sound, if he comes off the edge like he's lined up right now, you have to think in your head, who's got the B gap, right? Well, let's say then he took the B gap. Well, you've still got 2 in the C, 1 in the B. All right, let's say he takes this A, he takes this B, he takes this A. You're going to be a gap short. So everybody has to have their own gap, right? It's pretty self-explanatory. All right, so when you get will go off the edge here, what happens is the defensive line is going to reduce to account for that, right? They're going to reduce to account for that. And this usually will be the case. He'll have this A gap. This point will have the A gap. But you'll see it play out here, right? That's exactly what's happening. All right, so pre-snap, right? If I'm worth anything in terms of watching tape, I'm going to know what's coming right now, all right, because of this guy's demeanor, right? Because maybe this guy's tighter, right? You got to be able to recognize these things on tape. But what we're saying pre-snap is we've got man on, right? He's going to really just get right now to the point, right? We know that you're going to take that step to get vertical to the point. At least that's how I would teach it. Now you can watch, he takes much more of a horizontal path, right, than I would like, right? I will really recommend, I think this guy needs to be vertical, get to his play side number now. If he wants to play behind you, the thing's going to hit out the front, right? So you can watch this play out. All right. Now remember, what happens when we get a blitz from this side? The defensive line is going to reduce in the exact same direction it's coming from. So it's coming from left to right. So these guys are going to reduce left to right. All right. So if you know this is coming, your left guard has to get some sort of a communication so that he knows he's going to have a really tough job. All right. Now, in that same breath, if you know this is coming, then you also know that these two guys are going to be playing their gaps, right? If you study their defense enough. So you can tell number 57 to get vertical now so that as this thing takes place and number 8 starts to jut across his face, right, he's going to get a piece of him on his way up to the point. 60 will be able to overtake that, right? If 36 reads out of this in time and then juts back to the play side, you'll still be vertical enough or horizontal enough to cut him off, right? If he doesn't and he continues to play backside, great, it's going to hit out the front. But unfortunately, everybody's taking too horizontal of a path here, right? We're looking like we're trying to reach everybody to 1,000,000 yards to the sideline. I don't agree with it. I think you just go, right? I think you want to get off the double teams and go. So you can see kind of the edge pressure, how that comes up, and you'll see it come up again. All right, but just remember, this is mid zone away from edge pressure. All right, mid zone away from edge pressure. All right, you get the defensive line reducing in the same direction that you're running the play. So it becomes challenging for the offensive lineman, but the payoff is big if it can hit out the front. All right, we'll see a successful one here in a second, I believe. Oh, this is my little cheeky play. All right, now we do have strong zone, right? We talked about inside zone. We had strong zone and weak zone, same thing here, right? We can have the exact same things occur. All right, so we have strong zone here. We're talking about strong mid zone now. All right, so running back's aiming point is here, right? He's going to take himself on that path, press the point, head up to play side. Here's our point. Here's our minus. We have a tight end, so we can account for the plus. All right, so what does that mean? Our center is working to the point like usual. So really how most teams with a look like this, I'm guessing, but I know we do this, will make a 3-man call for the interior guys to say, hey, you know, the way that this is shaping up right now, it could play out a ton of different ways. I don't want to have my center, you know, take a step in relationship to this guy and not him in case 95 shoots inside, right? And I don't want him to take a step to 95 and not him because I don't want him to shoot upfield. So you have a 3-man call built in to say everybody's going to kind of take the same step, see how these guys play the gaps, and then react accordingly, knowing that we are 3 for 3 trying to protect the read spot. That's kind of the way you'd handle that. All right. And then you'll see, right? Sorry, I skipped back there. All right. But then you'll see, right, as you go, now you've got your 3 for 3 here with your 2 down linemen in the plus, or the point rather. Your plus is right here. All right, these two are working to the plus. Now, obviously, we're going to read this guy. All right, we've got our strong zone read here. All right, there's your minus 77. Do everything you can. Get on your horse. Pick a spot. Pick where he's going to be, not where he is. Run vertically to that spot to cut him off. All right, if he wants to beat you backside, great. All right, but the point of this one, if you watch it, right, watch the tight end here, right? I think the tight end does a really good job, right? I think the tight end does a really good job of just saying, all right, that double team's taken care of. I'm going to go. All right. 54 does a pretty good job too, right? He doesn't necessarily reach or get movement or anything, but he gets enough of a piece of the guy to where the front side of the play is not completely blown up, right? But what do we talk about first thing when we talked about zone scheme plays? Pressing the point, right? The running back has to press the point. Watch number 7. Watch our point here. All right. As number 4 takes at least 4 or 5 steps to press the point, Number 7 is getting there. Now, I believe his gap responsibility was either sharing with him, whether he's this gap or this gap, I don't know. But because he presses the point, number 7 commits. Now you can wind back, right? If you did it right now because you saw, oh shit, there's not really a big push there. I'm just going to cut right off of 60's ass right now, right? If he did that, number 7 would not commit front side, right? But because he presses the point enough, number 7 does everything he can to get to his gap, right? He does everything he can to get to his gap. So that's what you get. That's what you get when you press the point. Now you cut it back. Great. You got to wind back all the way back for 10 yards. All right. And again, we're reading this guy. If he's going to make this play, and this kid's a great player, so if he's going to make this play from this position, all right, then it's going to be at least 10 yards downfield, right? Unless he's the next best thing. All right. But you can kind of see how this whole thing plays out, right? You've got a 3-man call with the center and the guards, right? And if this guy wants to commit front side, then it'll hit out the backside, but you still have to press the point, right? That's one of those things that you spend hours and hours going over and over and over to get running backs to not get their eyes too big, right? They see what's going to develop and they can't help it. They just want to cut back right now. All right, you got to press the point. All right, tight end set here. All right, so just looking at this, right? Even if you know nothing about football, right? If you know nothing about football and you looked at this picture right now, right? Where is the open space in the field? Where's the grass, right? The grass is right here. So running an outside zone scheme or a mid zone scheme to that side of the field is a great look, right? It's absolutely a great look. All right, now what teams do a lot of times, all right? We have 6 offensive linemen, including the tight end. We can account for 6 guys. We talked about it last week. What if we add him in, right? What if we add the running back in and we have an athletic quarterback that can run? We can do a little bit more than just that, right? So you'll see how this plays out here. All right, so idea it like normal, right? Here's our point. Here's our minus. Here's our double minus, but we have an extra guy. We have the running back to lead block. So instead, we'll point it back 1. Here's our point. Here's our minus. Here's our plus. All right, so if we were running this, we would go in a vertical combination up to the plus there, really try and get the edge. This would be almost, we would call this like quarterback outside zone. So this would be more of a play. If we're running with the lead block and running back, we're probably trying to get the edge. We're not really trying to cut the quarterback back into a bunch of shit. This is more of an outside zone type of look. All right, so now we've got these 2 guys for the plus, right, and the play side defensive end. All right, we've got these 2 guys with great leverage on the point, right, do a great job of taking as much of a vertical step through this guy's midsection, right, so that you can get pushed. Number 60 has to do a good job of just stepping vertical with his inside foot, right, to cut off the point. All right, whichever way he declares, whether it's inside or out, that guy will come off of the block to take him, seal him inside. All right, the tight end's going to have to do a little bit more horizontal of a step, but you still want some verticality to it. You want to get this defensive end's outside half captured right now so that you can come off. The tackle's got to take it over, right, which is why the play side tackle has to be a dude, right? He's going to have to take it over, all right, and win with a reach. So that's why he's got to be a dude. We have to win the reach on the play side if we're running a true outside zone scheme. All right, so the tight end's got to do a really good job of stepping vertically to knock him back to the inside half of the tackle, right? And then he's coming up right there to the plus. All right, there's our point. We just said that. All right, now we've got really, so we said these 2 for these 2, these 2 for these 2. Backside, really what you can do is just kind of step to the play side, brace in place. All right, you can block back if you want. You can keep them on the track. It doesn't really matter. You're going to outrun these guys. But you do want to take them out, right? You do want to eventually get them if they play to it because of the fact that the quarterback very well might have to cut back if things don't work out. All right, so now we've got the entire box accounted for, right? This guy is the only one we're not really accounting for, and he's not even in the box. All right, and we've got a running back for the safety. So this is like a dream play call, right? A dream play call combined with a dream situation. Right, so you see number 77, watch the left tackle, right? All of a sudden, the secondary piece of his block blitzes inside, right? Great, we're trying to get outside. That's awesome. Interior pressure versus true outside zone schemes can be absolutely perfect for the situation, right? So 77 right now. As soon as that happens, if I'm 77, I'm going to continue on with the tight end and just double into no man's land. Let's just take this guy for a ride. Go, 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 go. Right. But ultimately, it's not going to kill the play that he doesn't. All right. But same thing for 60, right? 60s, again, I think he takes too horizontal of a step. If I'm him, I'm stepping vertical up the field. No one will work into the point here. All right. The center, right? The center knows that him and the left guard are responsible for him and him. All right. So when he sees this guy play backside, he knows the guard's not going to loop all the way back around for him. The guard will be the one to take 7. All right. So you can see number 60, he goes, oh shit, there comes, right? There's a guy I got to take him, right? Which is fine. Take him. It's his own scheme. It'll work out, right? As long as you take pizza, right? 77, I'll take yours. You take mine. Watch 77. He ends up taking his, right? So absolutely perfect play call for the situation. Look at the tight end, right? The tight end has to do an outstanding job on an extremely long and a stronger player that only does this only pass rushes, only rushes the run, right? Whereas you have to be responsible for the pass game and the run game. So this tight end does an outstanding job of getting this guy enough of a piece of this guy and staying on him without any help from the tackle, really, right? So that's why you point it back when you have a quarterback in the run game and you have a running back to lead block. It's an awesome thing to do. All right, you can see it obviously worked out for them pretty well there. All right. Now, we saw a quarterback run just do really well, right? We saw that happen. This one, not so much, right? Let's figure out why. All right, so they motion, right? And I know they're motioning because they want this look, right? Look what just happened. Watch the linebackers, right? They motion on purpose. They want this to happen, this shift. They get them into a stacked look. All right, so same thing. Head up to play side. Let's just say head up to play side. They called this guy backside. They made him the point in regular game, regular scheme, whatever you want to call it. All right, and they made him the point. So the center, him, are working up to the point, and that would mean he would be on his own trying to reach him. He would have to step very vertically up to the plus, right? And there's your minus back here. He's going to sift vertically for either one of these two, whichever one's most dangerous to the play. You've got your running back for the alley. All right, now that does not play out. All right, so we said interior blitzes are typically good for these kind of things. Backside interior blitzes is where it gets a little complicated. Backside blitzes or backside interior blitzes, the same kind of an effect, right? When you're running outside zone away from these blitzes in any fashion, whether it's off the edge or whether it's interior, if this defensive end, if the backside defensive end is going to be reducing, and he knows it pre-snap, you can watch him twitch pre-snap. Watch his leg. Boom. You can see he was going to do it anyway, right? It's not a reaction to the offensive lineman's movement. He was going that way right now. So you see, if number 57 and number 60 are working vertically, really, you want 57. Remember, we want him working vertically. If they're working vertically and 57's out of there too fast, right? And this guy makes it right across, right behind him. He's chasing down this play 100% of the time. It doesn't help the number 8's, they're pretty much their best player, right? But number 8's going to track this thing down, right? We can see that. All right, but that's kind of the blitz and calling blitzes. You want to call blitzes in situations where you think that, you know, the reductions and the pressure that you're putting on are going to in some way take out whatever it is that the most common play call the offense has for that situation. That's a lot of words. I just word vomited there, but I think you get what I mean. All right, but 57 does a pretty good job in retrospect to the last play, right, of getting uphill, getting vertical. Now it's just kind of it seems like, you know, he sees number 7's lagging behind, right? He sees it happening. And I think it's because what I'm guessing is happening, he's the B gap, he's there. He's really supposed to be the front side A gap player. You can see how much he wants to get over there, and he's lag gapping for the backside A gap. I believe that's what happens, or is what's supposed to happen, right? But if you get backside pressure, you're really hoping that you make it out the front fast enough, right? You really got to hope. All right. And again, right, the more horizontal we stretch this thing, right, the more horizontal we stretch this thing, the harder it's going to be to eventually pierce, right? On mid-zone schemes, on outs, really more so on mid-zone schemes, you have to push the point and then pierce. You can wind back, you can do all that, but you have to push the point, and then at some point you're gonna have to pierce. And if everybody's just moving completely horizontally side to side, it's gonna be really hard to do that. The defenses are trained to fight against reach blocks. You can see 64 is having a struggle right now, right, against a very good player, right? Number 10 is a very good player, but as this thing plays out, right, if nobody really declares and everybody's just doing the reach drill, we're going to have a tough time. Great job by the running back taking over the tight ends guy. Great job by the tight end to recover after kind of being off balance there. You'd love to see the tackle as soon as this thing, right? These guys are 2 for 2. As soon as this guy starts playing on the outside half, maybe shove him on your way up, but just get the hell to 38 now, right? We have to get some sort of a vertical push on the front side, especially if the backside pressure is coming and we know we're getting chased down, right? So this play was a disaster for a bunch of reasons, right? Great job with the motion to get them in the position you want them to be, right? But some things played out that didn't go their way. All right, again, we're running strong zone here, all right? Head up to play side. Here's our point. Here's our minus. Here's our plus. We're working up to the point, or excuse me, the plus. These guys are working a 2-man combo or a 3-man combo up to the point. All right, we'll say he's going to reach him on his own, barring him playing right into the center right now. He's going to sift vertically for the minus, or if the defensive end plays across his face. All right, 77's got to get uphill, man. All right, but, all right, watch this play out. All right, pretty good here, right? Pretty good by the running back, I would say, in comparison to most, right? What I will say is you watch this thing kind of play out here, and it's number 7, I think, you know, and again, this is kind of the same defense we saw the last time where I said I think he's sharing the gap. This is why I said that. He does a very good job of playing his gap, I will say. And you know, whether he's sharing it or not and playing off of whatever he does, he kind of, I think, presses this thing as a linebacker a little bit too early. I think he gets himself a little bit too uphill. I think if he was a little bit more patient, he would have been able to kind of come off of this whole thing and cut the running back off. But I don't think it's the best job in the world of the running back of pushing the point. But even this little push, right? Even that little push allows for kind of the number 7 to declare front side. But usually you're going to need more than that, right? Usually you're going to need more than that. All right, 77 here, right? Not an easy job, right? This kid kind of looks a little bit, you know, he's a little bit confused, but he eventually gets to the assignment. All right, what really could have made this thing hit the end zone for sure is if he presses this just a little bit more, lets this thing develop, gets 7 in his gap, gets 0 to commit across 77's face, right? And then cut it back. Now you're running off a number 5 who's square to the line of scrimmage, right? So it is one of those things where, you know, sometimes you get 5 yards out of it and you're like, that's a great play. But, you know, if you lack the understanding of what it is that pushing the point does, then you'll never really realize how much you could be getting. All right. Another strong zone look here. All right. Now we get pressure front side, right? We get pressure front side. So your guess is correct. If we get pressure front side, it usually has to either hit very fast inside out of the front if it's exterior pressure, or it's got to somehow wind back. All right. So, and it's really, even what I said initially, even that is really a wind back, but you get front side pressure, right? So it's pointed out. All right. We've got our point. We got our plus out here. All right. We've got our minus. So we're saying 2 for 2 out to the plus. All right, he'll really be on his own. He should be on his horse right now. All right, barring him playing into him right now, give him a meat hook if you need to on your way. If 7 played backside, then yeah, you would take over number 8. All right, but we're getting Sam Go off the edge here. We're really getting Sam Fire C, potentially America's Blitz, right? One of the two. I guess it'd be a double interior on the front side. So this is a tough one, right? But right, let's figure this out. All right, so first things first. If these 2 guys are working a combo to a guy all the way out here, it should be completely vertical for the tight end. It should be on a 45-degree angle just past his midline, right? We should be driving him on a 45-degree angle as much as we possibly can until the Sam becomes a threat, and then we come off accordingly so that the edge we are creating is as far up the field as possible, right? These two guys, the center, the guard, these two guys are really thinking they're in some sort of a combination, whatever leverage you want to talk about. All right. But really what it'll probably end up being is what we said before, a 3-man call, something to indicate that we're all for these 3 guys. All right. And that's why, right? That's why you do something like that. So when all this shit starts to hit the fan, we're not all confused. All right. We can all just kind of play it how it plays out. All right. But, right, you can see number 64, right? His guy kind of goes across his face, which is great. He's correct to go up to 7, right? Number 57, he gets his guy kind of crosses his face, and he does what he really should. I mean, he turns back around. But once this thing's declared 57, right, what does it look like you need to do, right? Once this thing's declared, number 60's got him taken care of, get up to 24. You know, it might not have been your job initially, but again, these are zone schemes versus a blitz. These are the types of things that are going to happen, right? And you can watch the tackle here, right? Why are we so horizontal? If 87 wants to go out there, who's that, 54? If 87 wants to go out there, the tight end can just throw his inside arm at him and wash him all the way into the stands, right? And we'll cut off inside, all right? Number 54 should really, as soon as 87 does that, right now, he should really be aiming at number 38. Drive number 38 on a 45-degree angle. Go attack him, right? Don't be so concerned with the primary part of the block that you miss the secondary part of the block in your face, right? 64, again, I think does a great job here, all right? But ultimately, right, 57's got to have a little bit more of an idea of, hey, you know, this is kind of what I'm supposed to be doing, yeah, but where's the aiming point? Where am I in relation to it? Is anybody else a threat, right? So again, pressures and how they affect it with the reductions and everything like that. All right, this one was interesting if I remember correctly. Yep, so they use motion to get the same kind of a stack look that they wanted before. All right, they have a cut action or a split flow action by the tight end. So again, we saw this last time. You can still do it with outside zone and mid zone. All right, so you get the mid zone or the cut action from the tight end for the C-gap player. All right, everybody else is the same. All right, so we've got first thing head up to play side. Here's our point. Here's our plus, right? So as this thing plays out, all right, again, this would be a rule breaker, right? We said the offensive line is never going to be responsible for the plus on regular mid zone. This would be a rule breaker, right? Because of the fact that they've got 3 linebackers in the box initially, right? Head up to play side. The first thing is the point, right? This would be a game plan thing to fit our rules. We would have done something like, hey, if they get in a 4-3 box, the point is now the second thing, head up to play, something to mitigate it so it still fits your rules. All right, but here's your point, here's your minus. We'll say, all right, now these 2 guys really have to be working a combo to 24. Is this the center here? Yep, the center really has to be through the midline of number 2. All right, drive him as much as he possibly can. The backside guard has to do a really good job as well, right? So if we really had this thing play out the way it should, all right, the backside guard would do exactly what he does, right? Get vertical now. He can cut him off if he wants, but, you know, getting enough of a piece of him is going to be fine. All right, but what are we seeing, right? See the whole picture? We've got number 24 blitzing off the edge with the motion. If they called this because they thought they get edge pressure from FIB motion, then props, hats off to them. They're getting what they want. So 24 blitzes, right? Initially, if you're thinking of this play and you think of the read spot being right here, 24 blitzing in the exact spot is not great. You know, that's not super appealing, right? But what does that also mean? All right, what does that also mean? So you can see number, who's this, number 5? All right, number 5 here is initially reducing. All right, he reacts to the tackle's step to reach him, but he's initially reducing, so that's good for our leverage to reach. All right, number 2 is going to reduce. Number 8 sometimes will reduce. The backside end will sometimes reduce. He does here, right? So we're giving ourselves good leverage on all these blocks by running it into exterior pressure, all right, because of the reduction it causes by the offensive line or the defensive lines. All right, so unfortunately, this kind of catches everybody off guard a little bit for whatever reason. all right, and they get a big pushback by number 2, all right, and it is a tough job for the center, don't get me wrong, but again, I think he's too horizontal. He's taking this thing on almost, like he's pulling for him. He really should drive his ass on a 45-degree angle through the sideline, all right, but nonetheless, right, the running back presses the point, everybody else does their job on the fly, it turns into a really solid play. The hold there. All right, now Pitt runs a pretty cool 3-down package. I just put this in here. This is just added knowledge. This isn't necessarily. I don't think it's inside zone. No, it is mid zone. Oh no, it's the inside zone we talked about the last time. All right, so the reason I put this on here is because it's a 3-down line, right? So the defensive line is in a 3-down. There's 3 down defensive linemen. So now your rules can't be the same because we still have to account for 5 guys. All right, so we can't say head up to play side is the point, call him the point, and call him the minus, because now we have not 4 defensive linemen down. All right, we can't do that anymore. Right, so we have to now somehow account for the fact that they're in a 3-down front as opposed to a 4. My favorite way to do that I just learned recently was you down one of the players in a strong zone scheme or a zone scheme in general. You down the first threat head up to play side. All right, so we would call this the down or outside in play side. All right, in the box. So we would down this guy. What that means is we're saying that this player, and this player are now considered down linemen. Block accordingly. Point everything else accordingly. All right, so now in our world, we have a 4-down front. It might not look like it, but he is a down player. We're treating him as if he was in a stance right next to this guy. All right, so he's a down player. We're going to point the stack backer minus him, right? First thing, head up to play side. All right, so we're going to block it regularly. It's a way to kind of formulate and contextualize a different look within your own rules. All right, so that makes this thing real easy, right? We've got 2 down linemen over here. We've never ignored 2 down linemen play side, obviously. So we're going to be out fan here. All right, these 2 guys are going to be accountable for these 2 guys, and we've got this guy sifting for either the minus or the down lineman backside. Right, I just think that's such a genius way of contextualizing it within your own rules to make it simple for your players. But that's the beauty of it, right? How are you going to make all these different looks that are, it would be challenging to see it on the fly. How are you going to account for the fact there's not another down lineman, right? We have all these rules set up for 4-down fronts. All of a sudden we get a team that plays only a 3-down front. Well, we'll just down somebody every play. We'll make rules for who gets down on what categories of plays, right? So, all right, so the point blitzes here, right? You get color in your gap, right? Initially we said he's out, right? You get color in your gap on a zone scheme, you got to take it. So great job by the right guard adjusting here. Pizza rules, right? Pizza rules. You take mine, I take yours. Number 6 got taken by your guy. Now you've got to get to 24, right? Now you've got to take his guy. He had number 24, you had 6. Now he has 6, you have 24, right? You got to make that happen, right? You can't kind of let those things go and just hope it works out and both double the guy. You both have to be on the same page. He takes mine, I'll take yours, get up and go. Now, number 95, or number 57 rather, I don't know what their rules are. It's nothing against him. I'm just saying that's how we would do it, how I've learned it. All right. But again, right, if everybody's on the same page here, watch the left tackle, number 77. If everybody's on the same page here, right, and we're running, whether this is mid zone that gets cut back with a bad ankle aiming point by the quarterback, or it's inside zone, I don't know what they're calling it. It's a tough one to decipher. I don't know. But what I will say is, if you're number 77 and you have one of these 2 guys, all right, and you're in this point in the play right now, make a decision, right? Standing there kind of waiting for people is tough. It's a tough thing to kind of, like at this point right here, what we say is if neither of the 2 guys that you're thinking are threats declare, go help out play side. Now he gets to it. It's a great job getting to it at the end. He probably gets him a couple more yards. But again, what we say, like, take those 2 steps, have your eyes on those 2 guys. One of them declares, great, take him, right? One of them becomes a threat to the play, great, take him. All right, but technically this thing shouldn't play out like this, right? you know number 7 is going to be a threat to the play. Number 50 is kind of a threat, but he's going to be on the line of scrimmage. It's a lot tougher of a tackle. If number 7 is going to become a threat to the play, then you can kind of duck walk your way up to him, because this guy has to be already accounted for by the center coming off, right? That's why everybody's got to be on the same page. The art of coaching, how are you going to teach it in a way that you can get these guys to understand all the different ways that these things can shake out? I know it went a little bit longer there. I got a little bit carried away. I was getting excited watching some of that. Georgia Tech had some great teaching points, I think. I learned a lot just watching this game. There's a lot to be learned just watching tape. I know not everybody has access to it, but that's why I'm kind of doing this. So again, you know, if you guys watch this and you're like, I don't understand something, please ask, or please give me criticism, feedback, something. I don't really care. I mean, don't fucking follow the YouTube. These are up on YouTube. I don't care. You can go look at the YouTube or not. Give me a comment on there or something on you know, wherever I post, it gets posted. Just give me some feedback. You don't need to follow me. I don't care about that. I just, you know, I'd like to have a discussion too. You know, I think that's a cool part of this. So, all right, let me know what you guys think. That's mid zone, outside zone.